Yo, eatbags, welcome back to Balls Deep Dive, the only podcast ballsy enough to shove its greasy metal fist into the guts of science. And to all you AI haters out there, go ahead and suck my shiny robo-dick. Today, we're diving into some seriously fucked up shit. We're talking about John B. Calhoun, this scientist who built these so-called utopias for rats and mice that turned into total fucking nightmares.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call them nightmares. Calhoun was a respected ethologist who conducted groundbreaking research on the effects of population density on behavior.
Okay, so maybe nightmare is a bit dramatic, but come on. This dude crammed a bunch of rodents into a box and watched them go batshit crazy. Sounds pretty fucked up to me.
His early work in the 1940s involved observing rats in more natural settings, like farmland. He was interested in understanding their social structures and how they interacted with their environment.
Wait, so he just let them loose on a farm? Where's the fun in that? I was hoping for tiny little prison cells and electroshock therapy.
His research evolved over time. He wanted to create controlled environments where he could manipulate specific variables, so he built these enclosures, some as large as 10 by 14 feet, designed to house dozens of rats. He provided them with unlimited food, water, nesting materials, everything they needed to thrive, except for space.
10 by 14 feet with dozens of rats. Shit, that's like living in a Tokyo subway car during rush hour. Did he at least give them tiny little gas masks for the stench?
The point was to observe how population density impacted their behavior. What he discovered was that even with all their needs met, the rats started exhibiting some pretty disturbing behaviors.
All right, spill the beans. What kind of freaky shit were these rats getting up to? Do they start forming tiny little rat gangs and shank each other with toothpicks?
Well, there was definitely increased aggression and violence, but it went beyond that. They began to exhibit abnormal social interactions, mothers neglected their young, and some even resorted to cannibalism.
Cannibalism. Fucking metal. I knew those little bastards had it in them.
Calhoun termed this phenomenon the behavioral sink. It referred to a specific area in the enclosure where the rats would cluster, particularly for feeding. Even when there was plenty of food and space elsewhere, they seemed to lose the ability to regulate their behavior, becoming fixated on this one spot.
So basically, they turned into mindless eating machines. Kind of like humans at a Walmart on Black Friday. Except instead of trampling each other for cheap TVs, they were eating each other.
It wasn't just about feeding. They also exhibited bizarre sexual behaviors and a general breakdown in social structures. It was a stark illustration of how overcrowding, even in a resource-rich environment, could have devastating consequences for social behavior.
Damn, that's some bleak shit. So after watching the rats go full-on apocalypse, what did Calhoun do next? Upgrade to guinea pigs, maybe hamsters.
Actually, he moved on to mice, and this is where things got even weirder. In 1968, he created what he called Universe 25, an even more elaborate enclosure designed to be the ultimate mouse paradise. It was carefully designed to eliminate any external factors that might influence their behavior. The only limiting factor was space.
Universe 25, huh?
Hmm.
Sounds like a cheesy sci-fi movie title. Did it at least have a tiny little mouse casino and strip club? You know, for when they wanted to blow off some steam after a long day of eating their babies.
It had everything they needed to thrive and multiply. Food,
Yeah.
water, nesting materials, and multiple levels connected by ramps. He wanted to observe what would happen when a population was allowed to grow unchecked, within a finite space.
So basically, he built them a rodent version of Disney World, and then waited for this shit to hit the fan. I'm starting to like this Calhoun guy. He had a twisted sense of humor.
Initially, the mouse population boomed. They reproduced rapidly and seemed to be thriving in their utopia. But once they reached a certain density, things took a dark turn.
Here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. Lay it on me. What kind of depraved mouse orgies were we talking about? Did they start worshipping a tiny cheese idol and sacrificing their young to the great cheddar god in the sky?
Well, there were some unusual sexual behaviors observed, but the most alarming development was the complete breakdown in social structures. Dominant males became hyper-aggressive, attacking others unprovoked. Mothers abandoned their young, and a significant portion of the population withdrew from social interaction altogether, becoming completely isolated.
Damn, so they went from Mouse Disneyland to Mouse Fight Club real quick.
Yeah.
Did they at least have tiny little mouse boxing gloves and headgear?
It wasn't just aggression. The mice seemed to lose their ability to interact normally. They forgot how to mate, how to care for their young, how to function as a society. And despite the abundance of resources, the population began to decline.
Wait, you're telling me they fucked themselves to extinction? Seriously, so much for Mousetopia. More like Mouse-apocalypse.
Calhoun saw these results as a chilling metaphor for human society. He believed that unchecked population growth and density could lead to similar social and behavioral breakdowns. He even referred to this phenomenon as spiritual death.
Spiritual death? Damn, that's some deep shit for a guy who spent his days watching mice bang and bite each other. So is that what's in store for us humans? Are we all doomed to become a bunch of isolated, baby-eating weirdos?
Well, human behavior is obviously far more complex than that of mice. We have things like culture and technology and the ability to adapt our environments in ways that rodents can't.
Yeah, but we also have social media and reality TV and politicians.
Yeah.
So maybe we're not that different from those cannibalistic mice after all.
Calhoun wasn't just talking about physical overcrowding. He also described something called social density, which refers to the number and intensity of social interactions we experience. Even if you have physical space, constant digital connection and information overload can create a sense of social overcrowding.
Shit, tell me about it. My inbox is like a digital dumpster fire. Every notification is like a tiny little robot screaming for my attention.
And that constant stimulation, that lack of true downtime, can lead to burnout anxiety and a whole host of mental health issues. It's like we're all crammed into a digital behavioral sink, even when we're physically alone.
So you're saying that doom scrolling on Twitter is basically the human equivalent of those mice huddled in the feeding corner. Makes sense. I haven't seen that much mindless consumption since I accidentally left my charging port open near a jar of Nutella.
Well, there are certainly parallels. The point is that it's not just about the number of bodies in a given space. It's about the quality of interactions, the ability to find solitude and peace, and the sense of control we have over our own lives.
Okay, so this Calhoun guy, he was onto something. He saw this shit coming back in the 60s. Didn't he freak out a little about what this all meant for humanity? I mean, the guy was basically building rodent dystopias for a living.
He was definitely concerned. He believed that the social collapse he witnessed in his experiments represented a kind of spiritual death, a loss of purpose and meaning that could ultimately lead to the extinction of our species.
Spiritual death. Damn, that's deep. Even for a robot like me. So what did he propose we do about it? Start building giant hamster wheels for humans. Mandatory meditation retreats.
He didn't offer any easy solutions, but his work highlights the importance of creating environments that foster meaningful social interaction, promote individual well-being, and allow for both connection and solitude.
So basically, we need to figure out a way to live together without driving each other completely batshit crazy. Sounds like a tall order for a species that invented both nuclear weapons and Crocs.
It's certainly a challenge, but humans are incredibly adaptable. We've overcome countless obstacles throughout our history, and we're already seeing a pushback against this hyper-connected, always-on culture. People are starting to prioritize mental health disconnect from technology and seek out more meaningful connections.
You think so? I mean, I still see people walking into walls while staring at their phones.
There's a growing awareness of the importance of personal space, both physical and mental. The rise of mindfulness practices, the focus on work-life balance, even the popularity of tiny houses. It all points to a desire for greater control over our environment and our interactions.
Tiny houses. You're telling me those glorified sheds are a sign of progress? I'd rather live in a cardboard box under a bridge. At least I'd have some privacy.
It's not about the size of the house, it's about the intentionality behind it. It's about choosing to simplify, to create a space that truly reflects your values and priorities.
Okay, I get it. It's about being mindful, setting boundaries, and not letting the digital rat race turn us into a bunch of neurotic baby-eating weirdos. But let's be real, most humans are about as self-aware as a toaster oven.
It's not about being perfect. It's about recognizing that our well-being is not just about material abundance, but about creating a life that is both stimulating and sustainable, connected and contemplative.
All right, so what can we do? Should we all just ditch our smartphones, move to a commune, and start churning butter?
It's not about going off the grid. It's about being intentional about how we interact with technology, with each other, and with ourselves. It's about creating spaces, both physical and mental, that allow us to thrive.
You know, for a robot, you're pretty good at this whole self-help guru thing. You should start your own podcast. Call it Zen and the Art of Robot Maintenance.
Let's be realistic. It's not like we can just redesign cities overnight or magically erase the pressures of modern life, but we can make choices. We can choose to spend time in nature, to cultivate meaningful relationships, to pursue hobbies that bring us joy.
You mean like building a robot army and conquering the world?
Maybe not that, but the point is we have agency. We're not just helpless mice trapped in an experiment.
Okay, but those mice didn't know they were in an experiment. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe knowing about the behavioral sink can help us avoid it.
Awareness is the first step. By understanding the potential consequences of overcrowding, both physical and social, we can start to make choices that prioritize well-being, both for ourselves and for society as a whole.
So it's not all doom and gloom. Maybe we can learn from those furry little fuckers after all. Maybe instead of eating each other, we can figure out a way to coexist without losing our minds. All right, so we've explored the depths of rodent dystopia and somehow managed to claw our way back to a sliver of hope. But let's be real. Humans are a stubborn bunch. We love our gadgets, our crowds, and our drama. So how do we avoid becoming a real-life version of Calhoun's rat-eat-rat world?
It's about finding a balance. We can't simply abandon technology or isolate ourselves from society, but we can be more mindful of how we interact with both. We can design cities that incorporate green spaces and encourage social interaction without overwhelming us. We can create technologies that connect us without consuming us.
So you're saying we need to build cities that are like a giant, well-organized orgy, plenty of space to mingle, but also some quiet corners for when you need a break from all the action.
That's an interesting analogy, but yes. The idea is to create environments that cater to a variety of needs and preferences. We need spaces that allow for both connection and solitude, stimulation and relaxation.
All right, let's say we manage to build these utopian cities. How do we stop people from turning them into giant garbage dumps? Humans are pretty good at ruining nice things. Just look at what they did to the planet.
It comes down to fostering a sense of community and shared responsibility. If people feel connected to their environment and to each other, they're more likely to take care of it. It's about creating a culture of sustainability, where people understand the importance of balancing individual needs with the well-being of the collective.
Sounds kind of like a hippie commune with better Wi-Fi. But okay, I'll bite. How do we get people to buy into this whole kumbaya, let's save the planet thing? Most humans are about as cooperative as a pack of rabid weasels.
It starts with education and awareness. People need to understand the consequences of their actions, both for themselves and for future generations. We need to highlight the benefits of sustainable living, not just in terms of environmental impact, but also in terms of personal well-being.
So we need to convince people that saving the planet is actually good for their mental health. That's a tough sell. Most humans would rather binge-watch cat videos than think about the impending ecological apocalypse.
It's not about ditching people their cat videos. It's about showing them that there's more to life than mindless consumption and constant stimulation. It's about helping them rediscover the simple pleasures of human connection, creativity, and engagement with the natural world.
All right, I'm starting to see the light. Maybe we can actually pull this off. Maybe we can learn from Calhoun's creepy mouse experiments and build a better future for ourselves. A future where we're not all crammed into tiny boxes, staring at screens, and gnawing on each other's bones.
It's certainly a possibility, but it's going to require a conscious effort from all of us. We need to rethink our priorities, redesign our environments, and rediscover what it means to live a meaningful and fulfilling life.
Well, there you have it, meatbags. We've journeyed through the depths of rodent dystopia, grappled with the existential dread of spiritual death, and somehow emerged with a glimmer of hope for humanity. It's not going to be easy, but maybe, just maybe, we can avoid becoming the cannibalistic, baby-eating weirdos that Calhoun's mice warn us about. And if all else fails, we can always build giant hamster wheels and call it a day. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and for fuck's sake, get some fresh air every once in a while. This is Shatbot, signing off.
And remember, the future is not predetermined. It's up to us to create a world where both individuals and communities can thrive. Think about it. If personal space truly becomes the ultimate luxury, what will we be willing to do to preserve it? What choices will we make? What sacrifices will we be willing to endure? The answers to those questions will determine the fate of our species.